John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast. John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole. They're a couple of absolutely self-involved bull artists.
Here are your hosts, John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
Headshot bang.
Gosh, I mean, the headshot bang parlayed with the Boston Garden wrap. If you're having a bad day, does that not just spin you around a little bit, right? Just a little bit. Dominic Cruz used to say, Kenny, if he had a bad warm-up, the crowd could sometimes get him going. That's why COVID-19 was particularly challenging. Had that bad warm-up, and then you walk out, there's no fans to spin it around for you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That song's a head bobber, dude. It's just, you just kind of want to bob your head, just chill a little bit. Good shit.
And man, Leon Edwards, after he landed that big shot, he certainly was ready to call his shot. Headshot done, headshot bang, whichever one you want to pick. Great to have you with us. Happy 50th birthday, Nomar Garciaparra. He's behind me. You believe me? He's behind me. He's right here.
Nomar.
Right here. If you're watching on the DraftKings network, happy 50th birthday to Nomar Garciaparra, born July 23rd, 1973, Whittier, California, my favorite professional athlete of all time. But great to have you with us. Episode 424, the Anik and Florian podcast, presented by DraftKings. And we're not that far removed from Tommy Aspinall's brilliance on ESPN+. But for us, this is our first time addressing our audience since so many big mixed martial arts headlines and fight announcements have transpired. So if I could pick the brain of Kenny Florian on a few of those before we move on to Tom Aspinall, Paul Craig, and everybody else. Sorry. I know it's annoying. And yet I can't help it. I can't help it. So,
yeah, just go ahead.
Please. No, please.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, it's always, the most common thing you hear when heavyweights are fighting is the power, right? But rarely do you see a heavyweight that moves like a lightweight, that is light on his feet, that is loose, upper body, lower body, that has the ability to get in and get out and make it look easy. And that's exactly what Tommy Aspinall did last night. He just looked phenomenal. Just the way that he was moving, the way that he was making Tybura miss. It looked like Tybura was just moving at a completely different speed. And it highlighted the athleticism that Aspinall has. And also it highlighted, his technique on the feet as well. He just has so many weapons, so many ways to finish you. And I think he fought Tybura also with the proper patience to start that fight. And once he realized he had Tybura's number, he went out there and took him out like the professional that he is. Just a phenomenal performance.
So we know he has championship aspirations. We could have had this conversation a year ago had things gone differently against Curtis Blades. I know that was a short fight that ended by TKO due to injury. Curtis Blades did happen to get off to a good start with his hands in that fight, which perhaps is neither here nor there. But people are so quick to want to put Tom Aspinall in a cage with John Jones. He himself wants one more fight. But you can understand why people like yourself and the MMA minds that we like to lean on get so excited about a heavyweight like this, because I get excited watching him hit mitts. And so then when you translate that to the octagon and he feels good in there and he feels primed and ready to go, and he's just a real problem, obviously, as you see. Is speed like the biggest factor that jumps off the film for you when it comes to Aspinall?
Yeah, definitely speed, mobility, right? And I think that the way that he's able to make guys miss and his footwork, it's just a rarity in the heavyweight division. You really don't see it too often. So when you do see it, you get very excited because typically you don't see heavyweights move like that. You typically see them plod forward, look for a big shot. They land with power. That's impressive as well. But, that's something that's more common amongst heavyweights. What is not common is the level of mobility that he has. And this is a guy that also can get it done on the ground as well, whether it's with his ground and pound or with his submission game. So he has a lot of ways in which he could finish you. The one thing, there was one attack where he attacked in a straight line and looked like maybe he might have run into something from Tybura. But aside from that, it really was a flawless performance. And when you put that at the backdrop that it was in England, right? So there's a lot of eyes watching. There's a lot of pressure on him. And he was coming off that devastating loss and injury to Curtis Blades. There was a lot on the line. So he just seemed to dismiss all of that. He was very present that night and fought probably his best fight that I've seen. So that's about as good as it gets.
It's amazing, too, how people can speak in such terms after such a quick fight. And it's because you all know what you see. And it's very exciting to think about him ascending and taking the proper steps. Of course, he talked about being there in September when Cyril Gane is front and center. And we'll see, obviously, how that fight goes for him against a not-to-be discounted Sergey Spivak. But yeah, the heavyweight division is exciting. Sergey Pavlovich seemingly is the guy that nobody wants to call out, but you can understand why people are really geeked about Tommy Aspinall. We keep calling him Tommy. I guess it's the New England that's coming out.
Yeah.
But he has that edge too. He has that championship aura when he walks in a room. He has size. But gosh, the hand speed, man, and the accuracy and just the athleticism and the hunger, the championship aspiration, the wanting of the pressure, calling his shot, wanting this main event. I think he wanted this fighter, Tai Tuivasa. And dude, Marcin Tybura, right? Like some people feel shortchanged when main events are quick. And maybe I'm among them, right? Like I at least would like to see the stools in a fight like this. You know what I mean? Just give me that minute 6. But you can't say anything disparaging about Tom Aspinall just because it's a quick fight. Marcin Tybura came in having won 7 of 8. Very difficult out historically in the UFC's heavyweight division. And, Tommy too much just fucking chews him up and spits him out. So what are you going to do?
Exactly. And I think that you put it perfectly because you brought the other side of the equation, which was Tybura, who is not an easy guy to take out. He's got a good chin. He has skills everywhere. Certainly is not blessed with the athleticism that Aspinall has, but he's got a ton of high level experience. He had a lot of momentum heading into this one, but all of that seemed to not matter to Aspinall, who just really made it look easy.
So I don't know what John Jones and Stipe Miocic are thinking beyond November. I don't think either one of them is really thinking beyond November. I hate to sit here and speculate that Stipe is going to retire, win or lose. Even when he was in the series with DC, he was only fighting once a year before this recent, more prolonged gap. So at the top of the division, you have 2 guys who don't seem long for it. I mean, with John Jones, hopefully the optimists out there think that I'm so wrong about that. But, 1 or 2 fights, is he really sticking around for Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich? It is interesting, though, Kenny, is it not that now the consensus greatest of all time, John Jones, is the UFC's heavyweight champion, and there are 2 guys, right? And, of course, there's the Stipe fight, who everybody obviously puts on the pedestal, and he deserves it, right? But now there's Sergey Pavlovich, there's Tom Aspinall. There are these guys, right? Even Sergey Spivak. Even all these guys, man. The heavyweight division is in pretty good form right now.
I think it's very healthy right now. That's a good sign. And a lot of different styles, which I like as well. So there's a lot of different approaches that those guys have. And I'm curious to see how it all pans out. But some exciting fights on the horizon for sure in the heavyweight division.
Jailton Almeida, kid. Jailton Almeida in there as well, right?
Yep.
Another potential problem. And you're right to, off the top, sort of acknowledge Tom Aspinall's wrestling and his grappling. It's a pretty long resume when it comes to what Tom Aspinall has done in terms of his combat sports career. So, yeah, looks like it'll be one more, and he'll be an interested observer for that big heavyweight main event in France in September. All right, a lot more to get to on this particular fight night. Kenny, I'm curious what you thought of Yulia Stoliarenko over Molly McCann. I know what you thought of the betting line on this fight, but Stoliarenko with this patented armbar, man. So to novices like me, right, to blue belts like me, I'm just kidding. To every Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu blue belt out there that's listening, I apologize. Like I'm totally messing around. My belt is so white that it's actually it lays draped on my daughter's desk chair. Okay, it's not even in use. Right. I apologize to the BJJ white belts out there. But Kenny, talk us through Yulia Stoliarenko getting Molly McCann exactly where she wants to get her, and where historically Stoliarenko has gotten everybody that she has beaten. I would think McCann's training camp was largely rooted in armbar defense, and it went awry pretty quick. What are you laughing at me? What's the problem?
No, you're right. I'm just thinking, if that was the case, John, what happened? What happened on Saturday night? Because, or Saturday afternoon, I should say. I don't understand what happened there. I think that Stoliarenko, obviously, she is a specialist. That is her best move. That is the weapon of choice. And all of her wins by armbar? Is that right? I think all of her wins by that submission.
I believe so. I can't remember a decision win in there. I mean, certainly a high percentage of her wins by way of that armbar.
Yeah, so for Molly, you have to think that that's what they were focusing on, stopping the takedown and getting out of that damn armbar. I think it was tricky because she was up against the fence, to be fair. But at the same time, it just shows how crazy this sport is and how, you hear the cliche styles make fights, and that's absolutely the case. Molly McCann had a huge advantage on the feet, but she really wasn't able to use it very well against Stoliarenko, who I think probably felt pressure. If she lost that one, that might have been one and done for her at that stage of the game in the UFC. And the fact that she was able to pull it off against Molly McCann in England with the armbar round one was extremely impressive. And I think for Molly, she would have done much better if she was able to survive that first round. But again, that's been a weakness for her. Getting her on the ground, getting superior position. She seems to just kind of panic a little bit. She doesn't really know what's going on there. And that's where she needs the most amount of improvement. And Stoliarenko was clearly able to expose that.
So I'm all for signature move finishers. Stoliarenko's got a signature move. I heard some credit in there for the offensive fighter. I asked you on a recent episode, I think actually last week, how much credit in a jiu-jitsu situation are we giving the offensive fighter versus discrediting the fighter who's trying to defend? But for Stoliarenko, right? I mean, I can't sit here and pull up her resume right now, call me ill-prepared, but, she gets a lot of people out of there with this move, and a lot of people go in trying to defend it. So Yulia Stoliarenko, man, better protect your limbs, folks.
This is quite the win, man. That was awesome. It was awesome to see.
All right, so let us get to Paul Bear Jew Craig, taking every bit of self-control for me to just say that at a normal volume for you and your children listening to this 424th iteration of the Anik and Florian podcast. What a UFC middleweight debut. For Paul, I'll move away from the microphone. Paul Bear Jew Craig. I was calling him Paul Cardio Craig, right? Because there were a lot of layers to this win. But gosh, man, to be throwing ground and pound with that type of miles per hour and violence. I mean, you can speak to this. It was one of your traits foremost. But it's Paul Craig in his UFC middleweight debut by TKO via elbows over the ranked Andre Muniz. It comes at 4:40 of round two.
I talk about this a lot, but I love fights that kind of slowly build up to this crescendo. It was very technical. They were analyzing a lot, kind of back and forth, and it slowly built up and increased, and they started picking up the pace on the feet. Then they kind of went to the ground, and it just got crazier and crazier and crazier. And it stayed technical throughout. Now, for me, this was Paul Craig's best performance by far. First of all, I mean, that length that he's going to have in the 185-pound division is going to be something to deal with. And on the feet, he's made huge improvements. He was actually using his reach out there. He didn't look like he was panicking. He wasn't rushing forward with these blitzing punches that had him out of balance and, struggling or maybe panicking to try to get to a clinch. He was totally calm and composed throughout this fight. And it looked like he's been working on keeping the proper range. It looked like he was working on those long-range strikes, and he was able to use that largely against Muniz. And Muniz looked very good as well, but it just wasn't enough against Paul Craig, who was, very aggressive, very technical, Muniz had some nice chances, was able to get on top, but none of that seemed to faze Craig. I didn't see Craig panicking. I didn't see him lose his conditioning at any point during that fight. He kept a high motor throughout, was attacking on the ground, attacking on the feet, was able to get out of some difficult spots as well. This was awesome to see. This was the Paul Craig that I think a lot of people were probably waiting for, and it bodes very well for him and his team.
A couple of consecutive losses at 205 laid the foundation for this divisional move, and he had been leaning into the strength and conditioning prior, even when competing at light heavyweight. Certainly, he probably took that in the diet to the next level, but talked about speaking in two different divisions. Our producer, Cody Merrow, tells me he spoke of Bo Nickel, or at least injected that name at the post-fight press conference. He didn't do that in the octagon unless I really got to focus more. But it's a nice injection of talent, I would think, at 85. I don't know how often he can consistently make the weight, but he looked damn good doing that too. So it's an exciting win for Scotland's Paul Craig.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think this is going to be a very interesting division with him in it. He's massive. Having seen him, he was cornering Stevie Ray in the PFL not too long ago, and just seeing him in person, he's a big dude, man. The fact that he's fighting at 185 is going to be menacing for his opponent. So the fact that he has become more technical, more composed as a fighter overall, he's a problem, man. I loved a lot of those scrambles between him and Muniz, just the sweeps, the submission attacks back and forth. And it was beautiful to see, man. Awesome fight.
It really was. And quite the career for Paul Craig, right? So annoying. I know it's annoying.
Craig!
Quite the career for Paul Craig, though, when you look at the wins list, some of the guys that he's beaten and the way that he's beaten them, the bonuses he's collected along the way. Congratulations to a good man, too, and a father of two daughters, Paul Cardio Craig. Lerone Murphy over Joshua Culibao. And I think highly of Culibao. I mean, he's game as fuck. He's a very good striker, willing grappler, but Lerone Murphy just took him to his world and dominated him. Suffocating night at the office for Culibao. He loses 30-26 times 2, 30-27 from the dissenting judge. And I guess it's a bigger picture conversation because Lerone Murphy's undefeated and he's healthy now, and he's been through hell in so many different ways in life and walks of life. He's an undefeated fighter that should resonate with somebody in the top 15 who would like to take Lerone Murphy's O, and hopefully that gives him the big fight that he has been seeking. But he's been under the radar long enough, and I don't know. I'd like to see how far Lerone Murphy can take it and how good you think this kid can be, because the competition that they put in front of him, he makes adjustments and, he wins rounds.
It's certainly going to be a confidence builder, right, for him. I think Culibao is one of those guys that is good everywhere. He's very aggressive. He really goes for it. And I think coming off of this win, and I thought it was going to be very close. It really wasn't that. It was Murphy who was pretty dominant in that fight. And I think that the fact that he was able to do that against someone like Culibao is going to provide a lot of fuel for him and just going to make him that much better in his next fight.
Hey, so first fight of the night, Jafel Filio won by arm triangle. And after he won, he called Bruce Buffer back in to dance alongside him for a minute. Did you see it?
I did not see that.
What? It's all over the goddamn place. So I couldn't help but think, if you and me or me and Rogan and DC were on commentary for that moment, I would have lost my mind.
Wait, so Buffer danced with him?
Seemingly unwillingly. I thought Buff would be all about it, the rhythmic individual I know him to be.
Yeah, I mean, what were they waltzing? Was it a tango? Were they grinding? What's going on? What are we talking about here?
It was an upbeat dance. I'm not the guy to go to on that. It was upbeat, but check that out if you would, especially for the Bruce Buffer fans out there. Check that out. I thought he might lean into that a little bit more. Might lean in a little bit more, but Buff, you're the man. So, all right, we will probably touch on a few more of these performances. Congratulations to the Institute of Human Performance's Daniel Marcos over Davey Grant by split decision. Seemingly some contentiousness online, Kenny, about that split decision. Marcos or Grant. I think a lot of people like yourself who who watch this stuff keenly were on the Marco side, and that doesn't mean that there aren't sharp minds on the Grant side as well. Have anything for us on that bantamweight affair as Marco stays undefeated?
And this was a great fight. I hadn't seen this fight, and my father-in-law came up to me. He's like, hey, I thought Grant won that one, and he's like, you have to check that out. He's like, I don't have a horse in the race, but, check it out. I thought Marcos won. I thought that there were times where David Grant was kind of moving forward and things like that. I didn't think it was enough to win enough rounds to win the fight, okay? I thought that he was missing a lot. He was whiffing a lot. I don't think the blood helped him either, if I'm being honest, right? That's never a great thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's more damage on one side than the other, but I just think seeing Marcos completely unmarked, making Grant miss a lot, and then seeing Grant with blood, it told a story to the judges, I think, that wasn't favorable to Grant. Now, for Marcos coming into enemy territory, winning a fight in England, that's significant, right? Because you have the crowd behind you and Grant, and the fact that he was able to pull it off, I think, is extremely impressive. And the manner in which he did it was very impressive. He just seems to be a cool customer in there, man. He seems to be way more experienced than his UFC record indicates, right? And obviously he's undefeated, which is very impressive. But to see a kid at that stage of the game execute like he's doing, it's awesome to watch. And again, I keep mentioning those flashes of Jose Aldo. He does move like Jose Aldo, doesn't have that same speed or explosiveness, but the way he manages rounds and the way he manages that clock in there, it reminds me a lot of Aldo and a lot of the movements as well. So, I think he's going to need to ramp it up as he goes into his career and really kind of be more impressive with some of the finishes and things like that. I think he'll get there. But I thought this was a very good performance from him. I thought Davey Grant fought a great fight as well. Yeah. I just think that it just wasn't enough. He wasn't landing enough volume, and he wasn't hurting Marcos to say that he definitely won the fight. I thought it was close, but I did think Marcos won that fight.
And there's no Peruvian bias in there at all, fans of that, I can assure you. It is amazing, though. Look at Ken Flo ready for a deep dive on Daniel Marcos, perhaps paying a little bit closer attention to the Peruvian fighters. Perhaps, I don't know. No, I don't mean about this decision at all. I just mean how locked in you are on Marcos. And I agree, man. Like, I really enjoy watching him fight. There's sort of a nuance to his game. And obviously, I talk about IHP. I believe he trains at Killcliff FC. We have the same strength and conditioning coaches. Well, there's his strength and conditioning coaches. They're the guys who like put me through a workout and get like the whatever defibrillators ready in case something happens. Johnny Parsons, by the way, just have to shout him out. Just looked awesome against Danny Roberts. I think those guys got the fight of the night. Andre Feely and Nathaniel Wood easily could have gotten that distinction.
Good
What'd you make of that fight, Ken Flo? Nathaniel Wood over Andre Feely seemed like the consensus out there was that Nathaniel Wood won the fight. Andre Feely, I think, posted something on Instagram intimating that he thought he won the fight. But Nathaniel Wood, man, has accepted and answered every featherweight challenge as they have gotten stiffer. Now 3-0 at 145 pounds. You put 3 units on the guy, and you got through.
Yeah, man. That was a close one. I think that the third round was very, very close, if I'm being honest. I thought the first round was pretty clearly for Wood. Second round I had for Feely. It came down to that third round. I think the punch that stands out for me was that left hook that really knocked the head back of Andre Feely. And when you're talking about a fight that is that close, a judge, you're looking for that memorable moment for the judges to kind of think about and look at, to steer the round your way. And I think it was that left hook that was the difference maker, because other than that, it was a lot of tippy-tap stuff from both guys. So when you're talking about tippy-tap stuff and you're looking for that one strike that was damaging, for me, it was that left hook. Feely didn't have any of those moments for me. So I think that was probably the difference. And, it was close. Feely maybe has an argument there, but I thought Wood did enough. But it was impressive to see a 5'6" guy in Wood, who was significantly smaller than Feely, find a way to get on the inside and land some very good counter shots against the taller, rangier Feely. So, and the more experienced Feely, by the way. So great win for Nathaniel Wood.
All right, plenty more coming up on UFC Fight Night. Aspinall versus Tabora with Ray Longo in about 60 seconds. Also with Brian Petrie later in the week as we recap the main event challenge and look ahead to UFC 291. But a massive combat sports weekend that beckons across the board. Two boxing giants will face off this Saturday. Errol Spence Jr. taking on Terrence Crawford for the welterweight world title. And DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered on the action. New customers strike now and get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. As of this moment, Crawford minus 155, the favorite. Spence Jr. comes back plus 120. Fight's close on paper, figures to draw plenty of two-way action. Same can be said for the headlining act, of course, at UFC 291. So don't miss out on the fights that everybody is talking about. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, not now, but right now. Use promo code AFPOD. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 this Saturday, only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code AFPOD. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In West Virginia, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races, all games regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/boxing terms. I get so excited towards the end of the spot, and especially this week, it comes right before the Ray Longo Minute. So let us get to Raymond Peter Longo.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in this fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian Podcast.
All right.
What a star you are. Just an absolute rock star. Just a rock star.
Oh, yeah.
You are.
Rock star.
You really are, though.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Ray Longo Minute every week, sometimes twice a week on the Anik and Florian podcast. You look like a hockey player this week, Raymond.
A hockey player? What?
It's a compliment. They get all the women, and no, your teeth look great. You can close them up now, but they look great. No, the hockey players, historically handsome, get all the girls, and
wow.
You look particularly tough today. That's a compliment.
All right, I'll take it. I'll take any compliment I could get at this point. How are we doing
all
today, guys? On this
We're doing well. All the Minutemen just keep jabbing at me, man.
Love them. Love them.
I'm just having fun with you, one of my best friends in the world, right? In terms of just like trying to get information out of you. And I don't know. People think I went rice hard in the paint last week, so we're not going to start there. But it's nice to see you. Yeah, we're moving on. We're moving on. You and Kenny are reunited. We need Kenny as a buffer, I think.
John, did you have any idea what I have in this vault upstairs? Do you have any idea the information I'm holding? I could take down everybody.
My heart rate just changed, I think.
Oh, geez. Oh, boy. Don't do that.
So talk to me. How was the weekend? What's going on in your world?
Good. I'm actually at the gym. I'm waiting for a couple of guys to come into spar. I think it's knowledge. Dylan Montello made it to the Contender Series in September, so I'm super excited about that. He's a great kid. And that was it. I had Pumi Nakuda making his comeback. He's in there. I'm going to try to grab him before he leaves. Have him say hello to you guys.
Great.
Outstanding young gentleman. He is. Amazing, this guy. What else? That's it. Normal weekend.
Can you imagine, though? Can you imagine? Cody's listening to this. He knows exactly where I'm going, Kenny, right? Like, can you imagine Ray Longo now, right? Takes Pumi Nakuda to the UFC Flyweight Championship. That's probably what's going to happen. I will. You want me to get a tattoo, right? Wow. Like, you go produce a flyweight champion. I mean, I'm getting it on my neck, okay? And we'll put makeup on it for every show.
Dude, the Longo Army isn't coming. It's already here, and they're taking over, man.
Let's go.
They're taking over.
Pumi, they won't let in there either, man. I wish they would give him a shot and just, get somebody they think they could beat him and throw him in there with them. But we got to get him into the UFC.
You and Mick Maynard should have a conversation. You seem to be two level-headed individuals.
Yeah. I actually like Mick a lot. I agree with you on that too. Seems like
likable guy.
Likable guy.
So how often, just among my questions for Ray today, and Kenny, of course, you chime in anytime. It's your show, Kenny. Kenny's name is, this is my master bedroom. Right? Like this.
Kenny, can you agree with me on this? No matter whose name is up there, it feels like his show. I mean, you could say it, right?
It does.
I mean,
he's the point guard. He runs it.
I mean, unbelievable.
Rightfully so.
Bob Cousy, get back in the fucking frame. Where are you?
No, we're good. We're best out of frame. We want to.
What is it? What is this? Is this a scene out of Step Brothers where you pop your head out as I'm doing my interview?
We want to put the focus on the real particulars, the coaches, the athletes, right? Not these talking heads that
I like it. All right.
Off of the real players, right? So, but isn't it amazing, right, that my kids see Kenny Florian's name, right? It's so much bigger than it looks too. This is my master bedroom. And but it's great. We got the studio, we got fiber optic. So among my questions today for the Ray Longo Minute, how often he's laughing at me?
I'm just saying, is that sign above your bed? You're not that creepy, are you? Imagine that he gets in bed with his wife. That's above his bed. He's got my T-shirt on with all the heads on. What a creepster! Come on, man. Give that.
Well, Kenny's poster's on the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God! Oh,
yeah.
No, there's a lot of Kenny Florian stuff within my eye shot here, but that's neither here nor there. And yeah, I'm wearing the Ray Longo Minute shirt. Like my daughter will come up to me and be like, "Ray Longo Minute." She's like, "Why just a minute?" I'm like, "Oh, it's much longer than that. Rest assured." Give him all the time he wants. He's the only reason the show does any sort of rating. So, how often are fighters late? Like you have sparring after this interview. Is that at 5 p.m. Eastern today?
Yes.
What time is that?
5
okay,
p.m.
so
Eastern.
I'll get you out at 4:59, right?
Right.
Somebody's got to do it, right? Not my show. Somebody's got to get you out at 4:59, though, right? You count on me or Ken Flo to get you out for your sparring, probably me, right?
No, I'm counting on the star of the show. Exactly. You're right. Thank you, sir. Yes, boss. Yes,
right.
Thank you.
Come on. God, it's just going to make my public approval rating with the listenership even worse.
All right, what do we got?
Who's sparring at 5 o'clock?
I have Dylan Montello and Austin Halleck.
And will they be on time? Or are they already in the building?
Austin's already here. Dylan's one of those guys. He's on time, but he needs his warm up. He's very disciplined with all his prehab, rehab, whatever he's doing. Very disciplined.
Good. Yeah. Good. I love hearing that. Austin and Dylan going to be on time. All right. So a lot of things I want to get to with you. So you did have a visit with Stefania Bell, former colleague of mine and Kenny's at ESPN, and I guess now current colleague of mine again, and Kenny's to some degree too. But yeah, she came to the gym obviously to talk to you about Chris Weidman's return, and sounds like you guys hit it off.
But what an absolute sweetheart, and she did a great job with the interview. And I kind of found out too, we got the same birthday, May 20th.
Wow. How about that?
We're connected. We're connected automatically. But yeah, what a sweetheart. And she loves you, John. She spoke so highly of you that I had to actually tell her, slow down. I get it, but you don't have to overdo it. You know,
I told her like Ray's not single, so I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, Ray's married. So
even if I'm not single, I'm not single. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's good. Right.
Sorry about that.
So what was that conversation like for you to sort of rehash that fateful night in April 2021 for Chris Weidman?
It was the thing that got me where I'll tell you where she caught me off guard. I'm going to go real quick on this so I don't start.
I know what you're. I know what you're.
With Chris's father-in-law, that came out of nowhere, and I tell you, just a guy that really meant a lot, and he was just a great guy. So she definitely caught me off guard. You'll see. I probably didn't even answer the questions correctly just to stop from bawling like a baby on camera. But that really got me more than anything else in the interview.
So Stefania Bell called me the day she was going to talk to you. Yeah. And she said anything else that we should talk about. And we, in my sit down with her, had talked about Marivi's late father and Chris Weidman's late father-in-law. And so I suggested I should have sort of flagged that to you, but maybe not for television purposes. I don't know. But I knew that was going to be brought up because I was wondering aloud as we were having long form conversations about this E60 piece. That was part of the timeline, I thought, right? And it was, obviously. And that's why it was brought up.
Yeah, probably. I'd have to think of the timeline. It did catch me off guard, and I don't. There's a couple of people that passed away that were very close to me that I never even realized it's that bad until I start talking. Like when she asked me the question, I definitely that was rough. That was really rough. That guy was. I think of all the things that would have made him happy, and he was just good. The guy did like 3 tours of Vietnam. Was a knock-around guy on the streets. You got to love that. He was a throwback. You're never going to see another. Those guys, they're never coming back. So he was the last of a dying breed, and I appreciated every conversation I had with the guy, and it was always great to make him laugh. And I was taking him to fights at the end, the local fights. He was just a good guy, man, really good guy.
Yeah. So what do you have for us on Tom Aspinall? That happened about 24 hours ago. What a heavyweight, huh?
What bounce in his step, Kenny, for a heavyweight. That's what I like. I'm not saying like Cyril Garnish, but it's kind of like exactly what he did. It's footwork that leads to a lot of power. You know what I mean? And that in and out, I was super impressed. How heavy is that guy? What do you weigh in at?
250, 260.
I mean,
we'll get that information for you. Oh,
Ray. Thanks, John. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I was just saying we're going to chase that for you. We're here for you.
I hate to make you do that since you're the star.
Hey, sorry we didn't have it for you.
No, but
sorry we didn't have it for you before the show.
258, Ray.
258. I mean, come on, man. That guy was bouncing like a lightweight.
That's what was most impressive to me, Ray.
I mean, what a better. Can you have a better comeback after a bad surgery like that or a bad injury? How long was he out for? How long was he out for?
A year. I mean, he has 364 days between appearances.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, think about it. I mean, comes out. That's the way to make a comeback. I thought he was an A+ on the microphone. There wasn't a glitch in that guy's return at all. And I'm a believer. I loved what I saw. I don't think we ever saw anybody kind of do that to Tabora, right? He flattened him nice, but the footwork's what stands out to me. The way he was able to bounce and get in and get out. I loved it. Absolutely loved everything about it.
So I wanted to get your collective opinions on a few big fight announcements, if I could. I don't know if there's anything else pressing on London, Ray, but we have a lot of big fight announcements for Abu Dhabi. I feel like, our friendship is such that it's okay for you to laugh in my face. But in the first 10 minutes of the show, I said the same thing to Kenny, everybody's laughing in my face today. But Paulo Costa.
Yes.
Paulo Costa was supposed to fight Ikram Alaskarov 5 days from now in Salt Lake City, Utah. And seemingly he's been pulled from that fight. Is going to fight Khamzat Chimaev in Abu Dhabi at UFC 294. And so, Kenny, if I could start with you, that is very exciting news. The thought of commentating that fight, watching that fight, what are your thoughts preliminarily on Chimaev v. Costa? And Paulo being, now Alaskarov got a fight too against Nassourdini Mavov on this upcoming card, but it's interesting, right? The timeline.
You are good with the pronunciations, man. Wow.
I know. He's a beast. Listen, this is the fight. This is the fight that should have happened all along. This is the fight that they were talking about for a while. And then I was wondering why the heck it went away. And finally, we're going to get it. I think this is the best fight for Khamzat Chimaev. I think it's a great fight for Paulo Costa as well. I think Paulo Costa is a guy who really doesn't give an F whoever he fights. He's going to go out there, fight his ass off. He's got a ton of heart. Don't be fooled by his persona on Twitter. First of all, one of the best follows on Twitter. He's absolutely hilarious. But when he gets out there and competes, he's going to give it his all, man. He's not going to quit. He's not going to go away easily. He's got some good skills all the way around. And I think he's going to give Khamzat a very tough fight. I think it's going to be very interesting. Now, if he doesn't give him a tough fight, if Khamzat goes out there and beats Paulo Costa and dominates Paulo Costa, then clearly this guy is going to be a beast at 185 pounds as well. I think he should have the advantage there. I'm just excited that this fight has been put together. I think this is the best possible, one of the best possible non-title fights that you can make at 185 pounds in the UFC.
Oof. I mean, what are the odds this fight's actually going to happen, though?
I knew that was coming.
I
knew that was coming.
Jinx it, Ray. Don't you jinx it.
All right. But I just think the.
Would you like to wager? Maybe you and
I.
You think Chimai's wrestling is going to be too much for Costa?
Yeah.
Maybe you and I will
100%.
will place a bet as to whether or not the fight happens. I say yes, October 21st. Dateline Abu Dhabi, that happens at UFC 294. I think it's going to be interesting to see Chimaev at 185 pounds all filled out if this is a permanent move, because I don't know if it is. Hopefully it is, right? Just being clear with his intentions to chase the middleweight title. And if that's the case, very excited to see him against Costa. And yeah, it's interesting because I feel like you could have put Chimaev in a title fight against Adesanya, right? I mean, if Duplessis can't go, Strickland should be the guy, right? But you could have put Chimaev in a title fight. Why not?
I mean, he hasn't had a fight at 185. I mean, he hasn't had a fight in a while at 185. He hasn't had a lot of consistency. So that's the only thing. Right. But I think this is the fight that where you can go, okay, it justifies it. If he goes out, especially if he goes out there and dominates Costa, then it's like, all right, go ahead. Let's see what he does against Adesanya. And he's probably the only guy in that division that could go out there and beat him. Duplessis, after what he did, I think it's going to be very interesting. But as far as Khamzat and his style, that's one guy that really could give fits to Adesanya for sure.
And I'd love to see Bo Nickel thrown into the mix, even though he hasn't had the number of fights. I wouldn't mind, with all the crazy fights they make, I don't think that's a bad fight to make either. I don't care how many fights the guy has.
Right.
I think that's what actually makes it interesting, and they could build a great storyline around that.
Be insane. So
I think so.
No, I agree. So we're going to get a prediction from you coming up shortly on Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. But it is interesting that before this fight is happening, they have announced the main event for Abu Dhabi, and it is going to be the rematch between Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. And it really is such a credit to Charles, Kenny, and Ray that he made himself impossible to deny yet again. Like, going into that fight, Dariush could have won a split, and he was probably getting a title fight. Whereas Charles Oliveira could have used every style point in the world, and he just fundamentally disposed of a guy who hadn't lost in 4 years. So, Ray, I don't know if you had an early handicap. I mean, the first fight between Oliveira and Makhachev went to Islam rather decisively. He's a big betting favorite in the rematch. Any early forecast on that recently announced headliner for UFC 294?
I mean, unfortunately, I think it's the same problem we have with a lot of divisions. I think Charles could beat everybody but this guy. I honestly, look, I haven't thought about it. I think it's the same fight. Maybe a minute longer or whatever, but I think it's the exact same fight. And I don't know, for some reason, I'm not even excited about the fight. I would have rather seen somebody else in there.
Candid you are about that.
Oh, wow. Oh, musical heads. I love it.
This is interesting.
I'm back on the inside. I guess the music stopped. I'm sitting over here.
Amazing. Is that it's not in your contract to be in the middle, but you do prefer being in the middle so you can see everybody?
Oh, yeah. It's the Anik and Florian sandwich.
I definitely can relate to what Ray's saying. I think that Makhachev's going to be very difficult for Charles Oliveira to beat. But, John, I think you make a great point. I mean, Oliveira did exactly what he needed to do to get that fight. He dominated Dariush. He got the finish, which was awesome. Now, I don't know. Is there validity to what he says that, for whatever reason, he didn't show up against Makhachev? Maybe that's the case, but he's got to go up there and prove it now. I think Makhachev is a very tough matchup for him. Like Ray said, I think that's going to be tough. But hey, maybe Oliveira is that good, and he just had a bad day against Makhachev, and that happens too. That does happen. You show up, and for whatever reason, man, just like shit's just not firing the way you want, and maybe you had a bad way. There's so many things that can go wrong and right in MMA, right? I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. It's a bad weight cut. There's injuries. There's personal problems happening, whatever it is.
Without a doubt.
You feel flat. You have one of those days. And in MMA, you don't get to come back the next Sunday and do it again. So I'm really curious to see, is Oliveira that good? If he goes out there and beats Makhachev, then shit. We're talking about, one of the best to ever do it. So it's quite the mountain to climb. Makhachev, again, I think we'll have the advantage yet again. It's going to be in Abu Dhabi, right? So I think the crowd will largely be behind him, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I think it's a good fight to put together. I think it's probably the best fight. It's the fight that I think is going to bring the most amount of viewers, I think, at 155 pounds, certainly.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you, I would have loved to have seen Volkanovski against Oliveira. I'd love to see that fight.
Oh,
That'd be a fight. And like Kenny says, everything he said is spot on. Especially that brings a smile to your face, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
Yeah, no, but I remember after the first Jan fight. Remember, Aljo said he didn't eat right. He had for whatever reason, he's been in the game a long time, but maybe it was the main event. The timing of the nutrients was wrong. But I remember sitting down with him, months later, going, "Are you just tell me the truth? Because if you're not telling the truth, we got to make some corrections. But if you are telling me the truth that you didn't really feel good, then it's a different story. We can go, I like what I saw." You know what I mean? And he said, "I swear to God, I'm really telling you the truth." So, Kenny, if Oliveira is saying the same thing and his coaches had a talk with him and it's really true, then it's a different fight. I get it. Yeah. But we didn't really see a lot in that fight. Like Aljo's fight with Jan, we had 3 rounds to go by on a lot of stuff either way, 3.5. Right. This one, this was quick, man. So it's hard to do the same thing. But I think there were other fights I would have liked to have seen. And, that's that.
I love your voice, Ray. I mean, I had to have it on the Anik and Florian podcast. I love your voice, man. Absolutely love your voice. Kenny, one other thing that I wanted to get your thoughts on, and Ray's, of course. Rob Font was going to get to make this walk at TD Garden in a huge fight against Song Yadong. There was a bigger fight 2 weeks prior against August 5th in Nashville, Tennessee. And when Umar Nurmagomedov had to pull out with a shoulder, Team Font decided this opportunity against Corey Sandhagen was too good to pass up, right? It's amazing to think about a Boston athlete. And Rob Font bleeds Boston, right? I mean, his accent is thicker than hell. He's a city guy. And obviously the Sandhagen fight is a huge challenge. It's much bigger for him in terms of the pecking order than the fight against Song Yadong. But, man, it is interesting for Rob Font, just a huge crossroads in his career, now getting that Sandhagen fight. And it's like in 12 days or so. Your thoughts on all that?
You said walking out at the TD Garden, and I had chills just thinking about that. Yeah, man, listen, I think it shows how game he is. It shows how confident he is that he's taking on Sandhagen. It's a huge opportunity, obviously, it being a main event. But I think that the fact that Sandhagen largely is a striker bodes well for him, right? I think he is confident against any striker out there. I think that's a good fight for him. I love Rob. I think what he has done over the course of his career has been extremely impressive. He's shown a lot of different improvements and a lot of different aspects of his game over the years. So I love seeing martial artists and fighters, right? Guys that are game and also show improvement and study what they're doing. So Rob Font is definitely one of those guys. So it's great to see a Boston guy show that and do well and take opportunities like this. So obviously anyone who fights Sandhagen, it's going to be a tough fight. But the fact that Font is stepping in there is pretty damn cool, man. I hope he does well.
Yeah, and I'm surprised. I thought they would have made that fight on the Garden show just because Font's from Boston. Then again, you have the, in case something happens with O'Malley or Aljo, you have replacements right there handy to go. So I thought, I'm surprised they are doing that fight a couple of weeks before. But, again, Kenny's spot on with everything with Rob Font. The stand-up, goes very well for him. I think, Sandhagen's obviously not your classical striker. He switches stances. He's all over the place. He mixes in the takedowns, jumping knees. So that's a great fight, though. But I thought they would have saved that for the Boston card. I don't know why, but I thought that would have made more sense for a variety of reasons. So I'm a little confused on that. But I'm glad they both get to fight, and that's all that matters anyway.
That's interesting. I don't know if there would have been some sensitivity from Nashville, Tennessee, if Jessica Andrade and Tatiana Suarez was elevated to the main event. That would have been something, though. The fans would have gone absolutely crazy if Sandhagen Font was added to that pay-per-view in Boston that is already
I think
loaded.
That would have been huge, man. Huge.
Yeah. So in the nature of time, I do want to show you guys one video, if I could, from ESPN Plus over the weekend. So Jafel Filio produced his first UFC win by arm triangle, and then he wanted Bruce Buffer to dance with him. So he called Buff back into the octagon. And seemed like Buff was reluctant. So I just, Ray, I want to get your thoughts on this if I could. Buff's leaving. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, Bruce.
Damn.
ESPN Plus Bruce, for the video credit.
Well, we do know it is confirmed Bruce Buffer is a white guy. It has been confirmed. Yeah.
That's good. That's a good one. Well, you didn't see any rhythm in that? You didn't see any rhythm.
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Bruce, I love you, though. He's got a bum knee. Yeah. He's got a bum knee. He's had surgery on that knee. Yeah.
What a great, just what a good guy, man. I'll tell you what a good guy. He came back in there to, what would you even consider that dance? The shag? What was that? I think that was the shag from the 60s, but I'm not sure.
I don't know what I couldn't describe it earlier. Jafel Filio knew exactly what he wanted to do, though. He was going to dance with Bruce Buffer after his first UFC win. Yeah, thankfully, I was nowhere near that octagon because I don't know what I would have done. I mean, Bruce, good on you being a good sport. I thought Bruce might have leaned into it a little bit more. Ray, he seemed kind of reluctant to engage in that noise.
Really? It looked like he came right back in and started doing the funky monkey. Yeah, he came right back in. You know, Bruce.
John, would you have danced? Anik, would you have danced if he asked you, "Hey, John, get in here, let's dance"? Would you have danced?
I would have been like, "Boa noite, we'll see you."
All
right, Ray. Yeah,
my wife can't get me on the dance floor at a wedding. I ain't dancing in the octagon. I can tell
right, isn't that amazing? Yeah. I am very reluctant to dance. I need whiskey to dance, essentially.
I'm good for. I'm always good for when I hear "Summer Wind" come on by Sinatra. Then I just
there we go. That's a good one.
I just, Kenny, I just gravitate right to the dance floor. It's a slow song, you know what I mean? So.
It's a good song.
Well, I know you have work to do, so I'm going to ask you this in closing. Okay, I'm going to name 4 fighters.
I want to give you something, John.
I will never pry ever again. I want sincere apologies to Minuteman Nation, all of Longo's Minutemen who fast forward to the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you prying. I want you prying because I want to make sure I still have my powers. You don't think I've been under the hot lights getting questions asked of me? I don't break.
No, I know.
I ain't breaking, baby.
Oh, hey, we hit you pretty hard with that ESPN video, and seemingly you were ready. For most questions. All right.
I did start crying.
Did you really? Yeah. Did you start crying?
No, I was on the verge of going, man. Dude, I think that blindsided me for sure. That's damn sure.
All right. I'm going to name 4 fighters who are competing at UFC 291 this weekend. And you're going to tell me in which individual you are most confident to get the win, right? And if this individual wins, $250 to Longo Weidman MMA.
No way. Let's do it.
We just want our logo on every wall. No, I'm just kidding. We don't want our logo anywhere. I'm just kidding.
Well, you know what? You should send over something. I'll throw right up on the wall. If you have anything, send it over.
Oh, well, I mean, we will. We would absolutely like some representation, right? I mean,
let's go. Yeah, let's do it, man.
We've given you a platform every Monday for 8 years. I mean, can we get a fucking banner? Jesus Christ.
You can get whatever you want, buddy.
Just want a fucking banner, right? Just want a fucking banner. All right. For $250. In which of these 4 athletes? Oh, by the way, your guy, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, competing this weekend against Michel Pereira. But that's neither here nor there.
That should be a fun fight.
It's going to be insane. Yeah, they got added to pay-per-view, actually, with the Paulo Costa defection. All right, 4 athletes. You tell me which athlete you're most confident in and which athlete you're essentially putting the $250 on. Jan Blachowicz welcoming Alex Pereira to the light heavyweight division, or either guy in the BMF title, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. You can have Poirier, Gaethje, Pereira, Blachowicz. In which of those 4 guys are you most confident to win?
How many rounds is the Gaethje fight?
That is a 5-round main event.
Ooh, I'm most confident in Dustin Poirier.
Dustin Poirier for all the marbles, $250.
All the marbles.
Any lean on Blachowicz and Alex Pineda? Who do you like in that fight?
Man, I think, I first off, I love Pereira striking. Love it. But I think this guy's going to take it to the floor and really expose him down there. I don't know. I think the smart path for Jan is to really mix it up like that and not get into a slugfest with the guy. Although he is big and he hits hard too. So, yeah. But I'm leaning towards Blachowicz.
Yeah, and that is a 3-round fight. All right, Ray Longo on social media. You can find him at Ray Longo MMA on Twitter. He's pretty good on that platform. Instagram, pretty good as well, but it's like at Ray Longo MMA 9358. At Ray Longo 9358.
I'm going to come back with that. Wait, let me get one. Pumi! Oh, God, I think he's sleeping. I wanted to get Pumi on just to say
don't wake him.
Yeah.
That's okay. Pumi Nakuda. Shout out to Pumi. Hey, see a doctor and get rid of it. Have a great day and a better evening.
Thank you very much.
Session.
I didn't know it was that obvious, man. You got good eyes.
The line, I think, from The Jerk. Shout out to Steve Martin. See how old we are in this room?
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I thought it was the old Willie Nelson song. And I can't remember what it is, but
yeah.
To all the girls I've loved before, soon you'll have a big white sore. Look at John.
He'd close his box out anytime. He'd close this guy, man.
Come on, guys. All right.
The cane.
I got work to do.
Hey, thank you, buddy. You're the best.
Take it easy, I love you. Take care. Bye.
Ray Longo Minute every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. And we will be right back in your lives in a couple of days, Wednesday or Thursday, with a much more comprehensive look at UFC 291. I know Ken Flo's still deliberating some of his selections. If you want more on the show, AnikFlorianPodcast.com. Can I tease the potential new merchandise store? I think I just did. We got a lot of things in the work, revamping everything on the merch front. Very exciting. I may get in trouble for that. All right, Cody says we've already been posting about it. I am a fucking idiot, huh? Maybe they'll let me host this show, which is not mine, on Wednesday or Thursday. KennyFlorianMartialArts.com is live as well. Also on Instagram, I would check out Argus Integrated Defense. If you're a man or a woman and, you just want to create a little space and figure out how to, avoid some situations and navigate some situations if they present themselves, at Argus Integrated Defense. We're back with you in a couple days here on the DraftKings Network, on the DraftKings YouTube channel. Ready to go with full picks. I think 7 of them from Ken Flo and Big Gun Brian Petrie on UFC 291. Poirier versus Gaethje 2. For me, wheels up to Salt Lake City, Utah, to the Delta Center. Ken Flo, what do you got going on this week? You be watching the pay-per-view at home or what?
Yeah, I'll be at home. I'll be at home for this one. Yeah.
All right, bud. Text me during the broadcast. That's all I ask. I should give out bonuses to Ken Flo like I do with Longo, giving Longo all these choices. All right, if Ken Flo texts me during the final 2 fights, $250 for you as well. We got to get out of here. Thanks to everybody behind the scenes, Cody Merrill, Will Berger, and thanks to Ray Longo for joining us. Coming up later in the week as well, we'll also talk to undefeated MMA prospect and Shamrock FC champion Dustin Lampros, doing a lot of good things in and outside of cages these days. So thanks everybody for checking out the show, and we'll talk to you in about 72 hours. Until then, you'll live.